Our very special guest this week needs no introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway for those of you that have been living under a rock for the past few years. He's played just 64 games in the red and blue, but Max Gawn has already earned all Australian honours. He finished third in last year's BNF after leading the competition in hitouts. And in addition to his imposing presence on the field, Max is one of the game's biggest cult heroes off it. Although the fearsome beard, which was such an integral part of the phenomenon, is no longer. Max, thanks for joining us tonight on the Demonland podcast.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
So, Max, you've been on the sidelines for a few weeks now after surgery to fix that hamstring. The big question, the question on everybody's lips is, how is your face coping with the loss of the beard? Is the beard trying to fight back to re-establish itself, or is it gone forever?
It's a good question. I haven't shaved yet. I haven't really grown too much hair to shave, but I haven't shaved yet, so I'll keep growing it for a little longer, and then I'll make a decision when it's too long if I'm going to go again or if I'm going to shave it off again.
Fair enough. Last time we checked, you'd raised more than $2,000 for 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗁𝘀 by getting rid of it. What was the final amount you got to?
I think it's still going. I think it's up to about 3,500.
Wow!
Amazing effort. Good stuff.
Really good. So, are you worried about the Samson and Delilah effect? Did the beard give you all of your powers, and without it, you're just an ordinary ruckman? Or are we going to see the Max Gawn, the Fear the Beard, without the beard?
Well, the beard in my mind was there to keep me injury-free because the last time I shaved was when I got injured.
Yep.
So I kept it it was 3 years and running, and then I got injured again. So I thought, what better excuse to shave it off and start again? I'm not sure if I'm going to go the same method like I said, but maybe I might do the moustache this time around.
So it's a case of watch this space.
That is exactly right.
We saw pictures and footage today of you running at training. How's your recovery going, and what's the timeline on your rehab?
Yes, I'm very optimistic with this injury. It's not a very common injury, so it doesn't have a set weeks on the boundary. 12 weeks was what we said from the start, but 12 weeks is absolute worst case scenario in my eyes. So I went and saw the surgeon today, and he's very optimistic as well, and he thinks that it could be a lot sooner than 12 weeks. So at the moment I'm just jogging, so I've still got to do the traditional hamstring build-up from jogging, so I've still got a little bit to go. I'm not back this week, but I've still got about 4 weeks of building up my running, and then see how it goes from there, and hopefully it's around the maybe 8-9 week mark.
So
good news.
Yeah, great news. So it must be frustrating to be on the sidelines. How are you staying out of trouble while you can't sort of trade? You've got limited training. Are you still required to be at the club every day like the other guys?
I did have a week off there because I was actually finding it very hard to get off the couch. So they gave me a week at home, which was quite boring. I'm someone who likes to get out and about, and I've got a fear of missing out, so I didn't really enjoy that. But I was in there in the second week, and I've been in the coach's box the last 2 weeks as well. So I'm just getting into the real big training program for my hamstring. So I'm doing a fair bit of training at the club, but I'm also trying to keep involved because I don't want to miss out on what the team's going through as well.
You mentioned sitting in the coach's box the past couple of weeks. Is that something Goody's forced you to do? Would you rather be in the stands where you don't have to be on your best behaviour, presumably, and keeping quiet?
Yeah, I got given the option. It makes more sense if I can help the team in some way or another win a game. If that's in the coach's box and all I do is say one comment that might help us win the game, that's what it is. So I don't mind it. Sometimes you got to put your earplugs in because the coaches can talk for hours. But apart from that, I don't mind. It's actually a good view to watch the game as well. Probably the best seat in the house.
Have you learned things sitting with the coaches and just listening to the way it goes?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I targeted in my rehab was to learn a little bit more about the game. we got, well, it's not a good predicament at the moment, but when I do come back, there could be me, Jake, and Cameron all going quite well. That's Jake Spencer and Cameron Pedersen.
Yep.
We could all be going quite well, and there could be a chance that maybe they want to play 2 or 3 of us in the same game. So I'm learning a couple of things. I want to watch Gold Coast North Melbourne the other week live at Etihad, and I just was watching a little bit of how Tom Lynch and Ben Brown played as that forward ruck. I'll do that again this week. I'll go watch the Western Bulldogs on Saturday night. And obviously, I'm learning stuff from the coach's box, watching some of our guys go around, like Jesse and Cameron and even the guys we verse. For example, on the weekend there was a couple of good forwards like Joe Danaher and Cale Hooker that I was keeping a close eye on. So if I can keep just to have that in case we go down a different path when I do get back, I might as well do it if I'm doing nothing for the next six or so weeks.
Yep.
So Jack Watts said earlier in the week that he heard from you that Troy Chaplin and Ben Matthews were fighting over Clayton Oliver in the coach's box, with each wanting him to be on their part of the ground. Did you get involved and go to bat for your midfield colleagues?
Yeah, there was a little fight going on, especially when Clayton
trying to get a piece of the action for the back line.
I don't think the back line will win. I don't think Jade Rawlings will win that fight. But with the midfield, it's funny. We've got a lot of guys that can go through the midfield. So that's something that we've added over the last couple of years. It used to be just Nathan Jones and hope and pray someone else can win the ball. But now we've got about 6 or 7 guys that can go through there, which means Clayton can go forward. So if we keep winning the ball in the middle, sometimes we can put Clayton forward. As you can see from the weekend, he's got a nice pair of hands on him.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Is coaching something you'd consider doing in the future? Is that something that sort of tickles your fancy?
I have coached before. I coached Ormond under 16s and then followed them on for another year and coached them at the 17s level, which was quite fun, quite rewarding at times as well. I'm not sure how serious I want to get to if coaching is a full-time job. I think that's a different kettle of fish, but I've done my level 1 and level 2 coaching course, and in some way as a leader you're almost a coach as well, so I'm sort of coaching around the club, and especially as I'm injured there's a little bit more I can do. So it won't hurt if I keep doing all this stuff and learning more about the game and doing these coaching courses while I can. It won't hurt me in the future if that's something I want to do.
Yep.
So you've been out of action for 3 weeks, but half the side has had a crack at filling in for you. How have you rated the efforts of Spencer, Watts, Peterson, and half the other team with trying to have a go?
Yeah, so Spence was going well. Unfortunately, we only got to see 5 quarters of Spence, but they were pretty good quarters. So unfortunately for him, he's been waiting for 2 years to get a crack, and if you even go further back than that, he behind Mark Jamar for a while as well, which meant that he wasn't playing too much footy at that time as well. And Mark Jamar actually did his PCL 1 week. I think it was back in 2011. And he was out for 12 weeks, and Jake actually did his knee in that same round. So there was a chance for Jake to play 12 weeks then, and similar to this time, there was a chance for Jake to play about 8 weeks, but unfortunately injury God struck again with him. So, but we did see 5 positive quarters, which alluded to what I was saying before, that there's a chance they could play both of us when we do come back. Obviously, I'll probably have to be more of the forward ruck, but I'll keep that string up my bow. The other 2, Cameron, we've seen 4 quarters of him as well, and it was a positive 4 quarters. Tom Bell-Chambers was quite underdone compared to someone like Ben McAvoy this week, who's in a lot more form. So it'll be interesting to see how Cameron goes this week. And the other guys, who else? Watsy's just playing his normal role. Yeah. Apart from the games when me and Jake went down early and he had to step up, he just plays his normal role as backup ruck and giving rest when Cameron and Jake needed it. We even tried Tommy McDonald there on the weekend, but with some games coming up against some good tall forwards like we do, especially the Crows in 2 weeks, I think Tommy might be needed back in the back line.
Yeah. How are the other 2 boys in the Rezzies tracking, Max King and Lachlan Filipovic? Is that his name?
Yeah, Lachlan Filipovic. Max King actually got delisted. It's Mitch King.
Oh, Mitch King. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
Too many Kings, Maxes, Mitches.
A lot of people will be getting confused with that one, so it's okay. But Um, they're both quite young. I got rushed into it actually when at Mitch's age now, so I was off a knee reco, and then the story I was alluding to before, where J-Mar and Spencer both went down, I got rushed into it for 4 games, and I was probably a little bit more ready than what Mitch is now. Mitch will probably need another 3 or 4 games yet before he's eligible for selection, just with this knee reco. And Lachlan's really raw, but Lachlan's started well. He's ticked every box that he's needed to at the moment, and I think he could be in line for a VFL senior debut this week.
Nice.
We mentioned 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝘁𝗲 Oliver a little while back. Aside from yourself, of course, who do you think is the best young talent at the club? Is it Oliver, Petracca, Hogan, or Hunt, or someone else, perhaps?
I'm just flattered that you put me in the young group, which is good. We got an abundance of young talent going around at the moment. Clayton's one of the best guys I've seen come into a football club and have the best hands. His hands are super. He didn't really learn that when he was here. He already had that, so it might be one of those genetic things passed down from family members, but he's super around the ball. But one of the unsung heroes that I'm really liking at the moment is probably 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗁𝘀𝗁, who's VFL riddled last season, polled very well in the VFL Best and Fairest, and also the JJ Liston, which is the Brownlow medal for the VFL. And he put in a big pre-season, and it's coming out in his footy. He's played 5 to 6 very good games. He's a bit down on the weekend, but hopefully he can go again. But I think Clayton's leading the young brigade, but guys like 𝗟𝗟𝘀𝘁𝗁 and Jaden Hunt aren't far off.
So, Max, you've been at the club through a very trying period. You've played under too many coaches to mention. How important is the stability that we're seeing now? And can you just talk about the transition from 𝗟𝗎𝗄 to Goodwin? Because it seems from the outside that it's been pretty seamless.
Yeah, you're right. I have been through a lot of coaches, and the last 2, 𝗟𝗎𝗄 and Goody, it almost feels like it's just been one coach. So it feels like we've had one coach for 4 seasons now, which adds to the stability and probably adds to the growth that we're seeing now in the team. Goody's obviously got different values to 𝗟𝗎𝗄, but we're playing similar footy, just with a tiny little bit more of attacking flair, which is good, because that's what Western Bulldogs and Crows and even Port Adelaide are doing this season. You got to play with that attacking flair to keep up and kick high scores. So Goody's been well in the transition. First time I've been through a transition like that, and it seems seamless to me. So hopefully he keeps tracking the right way.
Max, thanks again for your time. We've got 2 more questions for you, and then we'll let you go.
No worries.
You've become a cult figure in the football world with your wit and humour. Who else at the club can match it with you in the funny stakes? Yeah,
I had to. I wasn't necessarily the cult figure the whole way through. There was a young guy called Jack Fitzpatrick that had it for a couple of weeks as well. But since he's been delisted, it's actually quite a boring club. No, there is some funny guys. Jaden Hunt's starting to make his own little path in the AFL. He's a little bit different. I'm enjoying what he's putting up on the social media threads, which everyone is. And it's really underrated.
Nippies and the owl fascination.
Yeah, the owl fascination, which everyone seems to be on top of, which is it's quite a fascinating story, to be honest. He hasn't seen an owl for 10 years, and all of a sudden he sees 7 in 1 week. But I actually really rate Colin Garland as one of the funny guys at the club. He's very understated. He used to be called Humphrey Bear because he didn't speak, but he's come a long way, and he speaks too much now. But he's a very funny man.
So we've seen Max the barista, we've seen Max the DJ. You were making tables and furniture with former Demon Matt Jones at one point. Is Max Jones and Co still going? And also the big question: what would you be doing if you weren't playing footy?
Yeah, I've tried a couple of things. I've been not good at a lot of things, so I was not good at DJing, so gave that up. I made a few bad coffees in my time, so I haven't given that one up yet, but that's close. Max Jones Co is still a thing. It's very little at the moment just because of the time. Matt's in a full-time job now. And to be honest, he was the brains of the business. So he's tried to give a couple of tables over to me, and I've got no idea what I'm doing. But what would I be doing if I wasn't playing footy? I suppose that's one way. I'm taking a different path here, but one way I keep myself sane when I'm in rehab is I just pretend I was at home and not playing footy, and what would I be doing? And I'll be doing a similar thing. I'd be trying to stay fit. I'd probably be going to the gym at 6 a.m. rather than what I'm doing at 10 a.m. at the club. So it's actually a good way to keep sane. I'm getting paid to stay fit at the moment, and not much else. So it's a good way to keep your head in the right place. In terms of occupation, my family's been hospitality for years, so I'd probably stay in that area of work.
So Max, we could talk with you all night, but we better let you go. But before we do, I'd like to just tell you and our audience a little anecdote. So as you and some of our listeners are aware, my family and I sponsor you, and we're very proud of that fact and proudly display the photos that we have with you each year in our office, the ones we get at the season launch. I guess you're the tall, skilled footballing son that my father never had. Now the genesis of our sponsorship with Max, in case anyone doesn't know, dates back to when you were just a new recruit. We won this tall and skinny, smooth-faced at the time boy in a raffle. We had no idea who he was, and we actually attempted to give him away to a homeless guy on the way home, but he politely refused, and we were stuck with him, and we've stuck through him through all the injuries. We were your biggest spruikers to anyone who would listen to us, and we were there cheering you in your first match when I don't know if you remember this, you took a mark, you were 10 metres out straight in front, and do you remember what you did with the kick?
You honestly think that I'll forget?
You shake that kick, but I told everyone around it, this is my boy. We're sponsoring him, and you can't imagine how thrilled we were when, through your hard work and your perseverance, you truly earned the number one mantle of ruck at the D's, and you've stamped your authority on the position to become the number one ruckman in the league. And Max, you're a superstar of the club and the competition, so we hope that your rehab keeps tracking well and you'll be back on the park before too long. We can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us tonight. Thank you, Max.
Thanks, guys. The good thing is there is a young little grandson of Jack's playing at Ajax who's a talented ruck as well. So
yes.
Hopefully he can have a young ruckman of his own blood playing sometime soon.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Max. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks, boys.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, Max.